for Hillary Clinton to call parts of the electorate deplorables, or for the president to describe them as garbage, this is really unhelpful. It's deeply disrespectful. I think really appalling. I
Yeah.
think you have to accord people respect. You may disagree with everything they do and say, but if you really believe that all people are created equal, then you have to treat them like equals. And I don't believe you're going to change their minds if you don't.
One of the things you talk about in the TED Talk is love, and how love plays a part in this. And you say, you wouldn't do these things because it's so much work without love. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, and figure out where we go from here.
I work with lots of people whom I'm sure I disagree on very, very many topics. But what I try to do is to find what's good in them and what I can respect in them and speak to that. And to the degree that I do, and I may disagree with them on certain things, I think they're much more likely to consider my views if they feel that I respect them as people. And it's interesting because I've certainly had the experience of many people coming up to me, and saying, wow, you really changed my mind on X. Not because I had a fight with them, but because I talked about, what I'd seen or what I knew, and they went away and they thought about it. And over time, they started to see examples of what I was talking about. Now, I am firmly of the belief that nobody's going to change their mind in front of you. If you say you think all cows are brown, and I say, I don't think so. I think some are kind of brown and white, some are black and white, some are kind of really white. You're going to say, no, I don't agree with you. But, if we've had a cordial conversation about this, you're going to start seeing more cows that aren't brown. Right? Because it's in your mind. And that's what's going to change your mind. Simply planting the possibility that there might be other colored cows makes it more likely you're going to see it. But it's not going to happen in the moment. And it's unlikely that they'll come back and say, wow, Jason, you were right about those cows. They're all kinds of different colors. I had no idea. What was I thinking? But that's okay. Right? It's okay they don't come back with this great mea culpa. But if you've had a respectful conversation, you may get somewhere. There's a fantastic book. I don't know if it's out in the US, but it's in the UK. It's called Conflicted by a guy named Ian Leslie. And he tells a beautiful story about a young woman who I think had car breaks down or something anyway. She gets a lift with a truck driver in the US. And he has, and I don't remember the details, but he has some kind of racist bumper sticker on his car. And they have a really, really lovely conversation. And he's really nice and he's really helpful and he's really kind. And at the end, when he drops her off to wherever it is she was trying to get, she said, I've really loved our conversation, blah, 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 blah. I just have to say, for such a nice guy, I think your bumper stickers it's really upset me. And I'm just saying that because I don't think that's the kind of guy you are. Anyway, several months later, she runs into him, the bumper sticker's gone. And I think it's a great story. It's a true story. And I think it says something about how people change their minds, which is they accommodate themselves over time or accumulate evidence over time to a different way of seeing. But it isn't experienced as an argument. It's not an I'm right, you're wrong argument. It's a conversation about my experience of life and my experience of you.
Yeah. What would you say to the person that wants to say that thing about the bumper sticker and maybe they're holding back and they should say something? In respectful
Well, it's hard to tell because, I'm not in the truck, I can't gauge the level of danger that there is. I think everybody has to make their own judgment. What I would say, again, is there's a huge amount of evidence to suggest that simply positing a different perception can make a whole world of difference to how they see themselves or how they see the world.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot in meetings, for example, where somebody suggests something, mad, bad, or dangerous. And everybody, either because they don't want the fight, or they don't want to spend their political capital that way, or whatever, they haven't done their homework, they'll just go along with it. And then somebody will say, I'm quite worried about this proposition because, I think there are problems with this and this and this. And then suddenly the whole room decides, yeah, she's right, he's right. And they'll all say, yeah, it is problematic. Now, what's happened isn't that the information around the room has changed. It's just that when one person dares to speak up, other people dare to too.
Yeah.
So that's the opportunity you lose when you stay silent.